Alright, it's Alchemy of Life back with another video, y'all. Like, subscribe, hit that bell, that icon, stay for a while. All you little alchemists out there. Um, I just did my libations. And if you don't know what libations are, it's when you give power and thanks to the spirits, the spirits that dwell inside of you. Because remember, all of these things are genetic, and all of these things dwell inside of you. So any spirits you work with, your ancestors, yada yada yada, you know, they're all inside of you. So when you say ashe and give libation, so a libation every time, instead of just pouring the water in, I'll go like this. I pour a little bit and say ashe tho, ashe Lakshmi, ashe Ganesh, ashe Archangel Michael, and so on and so forth, until it gets full. And then, for who I didn't mention, for all spirits and gods and goddesses, known and unknown, and, that I did not mention, ashe. I do the same thing for my ancestors. So that's one thing that you guys can do. It's a very powerful thing to do for others. Like if you catch it on video and do it. Bobby Hemmitt, BOBBY HEMMITT, an amazing master teacher. He's taught so many of these teachers that we listen to and or follow or subscribe to, especially on this platform. I know Ashira said that he was one of the many people that taught her things. And if you watch his videos and you know about Ashira's teachings, you can see Bobby Hemmitt in there. You can see his influence from time to time. Especially during these times, I'm seeing it. And it's good, because he when I say he's a master teacher, that motherfucker is just wise beyond all means. So that's that. But I'm going to start getting libations on video and different things like that. I'm drinking Blue Moon tonight. It's for the ancestors. I got 5 more for me. Oh, this video is not, for purposes of COPPA and different things, this video is not intended for children whatsoever. So if you are a child, please click off of this video and off of this channel. Thank you. Now, for the beer. So, we're going to talk about tonight. Oh, before we get started, I'm going to burn some ancestor money for my people. I'm going to show you how I do it. So, how I do it is, if I'm doing a money ritual for me with ancestor money, which you can do, Conjure Queen has one on her channel, a ritual that you can do. That's amazing, and it's easy, and it's with candles, it's like candle magic, and with ancestor money, it's easy. Is you fold it, you thank Jade the Emperor, so you always want to thank Jade the Emperor, because he is the gatekeeper in this, of all currency, spiritual, mental, and physical. You just want to thank him for that call, or that, for that getting to you. Or in this case, I'm going to thank him for this message getting out to my ancestors, because it's helping them become debt-free on the other side. And they are inside of me as well in my genetic code. So you will reap the benefits that way too. So you're going to want to, if it's not going to you, it's going to someone else, you're going to want to fold it this way away from you. But it's coming to you, you're going to want to hold it to you. So to my benevolent ancestors, known and unknown, Ashe, thank you, Emperor Jade, for getting this message to them with no problems. Ashe. And it's going to burn up. I like this ancestor money because it burns up really well. I used to have the ancestor money from S.Ali Myers, from Brother Ali. I do like it, but it is not convenient to burn because it smokes so much. It smokes so much. This burns up easy and smokes up quick. But I do love his site, SLEMyers.com, L9shop.com, EL9 Book.joeeison.com, because you can always get a free crystal there. You're gonna have to pay shipping and handling, so it really won't be free. But some crystals are worth more than $5.99. See what I'm saying? But anyway, tonight we're going to be talking about. I'm going to touch on a little bit on the Book of Enoch, the Annunaki, and genetic modification. A little bit on melanin, and like the genetic story of white people, and how we are all one. This came to me as a download. I know Thos gave me this download, and I know it came from that part of me. I was cooking, and it always comes. You'll always get downloads. I know most people get downloads when they're doing something. They're not thinking about getting one. They're just doing something that they love to do. So let's get into it. So I know Bobby Hemmett talks a lot about it, but doesn't really touch on it the way I'm going to touch on it, which is why it came to me. And I know Share doesn't touch on it because, they're getting the message out. And the same thing I'm doing, so we all have our contribution. So a lot of people are confused as to how people came to be in this physical form. But if you can we all can perceive that, yes, black people, or not even, I don't like the word black, but highly melanated or melanated people have been on this earth first. We're on this earth first. If you can conceive the idea that source energy, the void, dark energy, is highly melanated. It's fucking what you would call black. It's this color. So we can all perceive that, at least most people, the world is populated by black people first. And then when you get to the story of the archangels, the fallen angels from the Book of Enoch, and how it tells you how white people came to be, or the lesser melanated, here's what happened. You have the fallen angels. They come down to earth because they want to experience, they want to have a different experience. They come down to the physical to have a lower experience. But they don't just take themselves. See, you have to know there's way more angels than 7. There's the 7 angels, 7 archangels, the 2 that are below them, and below those 2 there are those 200 that are below them. So they took some of the 200. I'm not sure how many, but they took some of that 200 and they came down with the archangels, the fallen angels, leaving the other 2 angels in charge. Now this is all metaphor, but I'm bringing it into the physical because this is the only way they could tell us about creation. But I figured this shit out. So you have the 2 other angels under them left in charge of the higher state, plus the other angels that were left. Remember, not all angels are good. Let's just get that out. But what they did was they mated with these angels. The archangels mated with the daughters of men. Now, here's the thing. Those lower angels were the ones who fell first. That's the trick. They became the daughters of men. All those lower angels were mating with each other, doing their thing down there. And then the fallen archangels go down because they wanted that experience too. They fall down into lower consciousness, into lower self, and they start mating with the so-called daughters of men, or in their highest form, angels. whether benevolent or malevolent. So what happens is they get cut off from source. And when you get cut off from source, the blackness, you have these very dark melanated angels, all of them, who are eumelanated, but they're cut off from source, and how they can tell is they're only having albino children. Now here's the thing, I'm going to get into it now. Albino children, they still have eumelanin inside of them, but their skin tone doesn't show it. Skin tone looks like that. That is an example of phyto or phytomelanin, the white, red, or pink hue, which is why they when a share talks about the having eumelanin or eumelanated people, we have all three forms. We have the Holy Trinity. We have this, and what's in our brain. People who are lighter melanated, lesser melanated, or the term in the Book of Enoch would be cut off from source, which is why she's talking about mating. So when you come back into your family lineage, you have something there. You have a connection. Lesser melanated people, they have neuromelanin, very little eumelanin, very, very little, if not zero. But you can tell if you have some, if you don't peel when you go tan, you turn brown when you tan, instead of, like, you don't have to tan as much to turn brown, and you don't peel in the sun. That's when you know when you're lesser melanated, that you have a fair amount of eumelanin for being white, basically, as I'm going to put it. But for those who peel and get really red and get rashes, you're so-called cut off from source. And how the total cutoff came to be is you have albinos. Now, they have eumelanin, and remember, their parents, who are melanated, highly melanated, they're straight from source, basically cannot conceive melanated children with high amounts of eumelanin anymore for a certain period of time, because they fell. That was their punishment, being cut off. Once you're cut off, you have a hard time. It's like eumelanin is like the trinity to it's like a big receptor. When the rays from the sun hit it, it receives. It's like a receptor. It's like a Wi-Fi signal. It'll bounce that signal off. It works with that neuromelanin to bounce that signal off, to get that message through. Like, I'm on a pay phone, Maroon 5 pay phone, anything you can see that references the message getting out. You know what I'm saying? They mix somehow, or somehow they have a connection to source. They got some black friends that help them manifest, or however that may be. So you have these albino children now that they're only able to have, which is how they're what I call the first white people, even though they've been considered black, but their skin tone is phytomelanin, but inside of them they contain lots of eumelanin. They can have just as much as I have. So what happens is these fallen angels keep mating with the daughters of men, and they keep producing these babies, these albino babies. And now here's the thing. Now I'm going to get into it. How the Caucasians, or why they say the white people came out of the Caucasus Mountains. I'm going to get to that. So basically, it's about location, environment, and nature, the earth. So think about accents, a New York accent, a Southern accent, yada, 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 yada. If I go to New York for the next 15 years and I live there in Brooklyn, I'm going to have some sort of a Brooklyn accent, and I'm not even from there. Nigga, I'm from Chicago. I'm from Central Illinois. Northern and Central Illinois is where I be at. So basically, by moving my location, my body and my genetics adapt to the nature of that realm that I have put myself in, aka that location. So this is how you get cut off even further from source. Because there are certain locations that are really in tune with source. This is how you get all the different races of people. So, and this is the story of the Annunaki. These are the experience that they were doing. This is the genetic recessive experience. This is how they created all the races, all the bloodlines. So they intentionally cut people off from source that willingly wanted to fall because they wanted to have an experience. So that was the deal. So now you're only able to have these babies. So now you're populating the earth with these so-called white babies, but they're just albinos. So then you take these albinos, who you now have in abundance, and you switch locations. You go west and you go east. You know what I'm saying? Now, you take a little, so they took a few, and they took enough melanin with them. Everywhere they go, they have the source. Until, well, not everywhere they go. But at first, it was like everywhere they go, they have a connection to the source. So they have melanated people with them that are in their genetics. Sorry, dinner. But anyway, everywhere they go, at first they have this connection to source. So, the key here is that there's more albinos than there is melanated people. So they start going to different locations like Asia, Europe, different land masses like that, and settling. So now their DNA and the mental, physical, and spiritual is adapting to these climates. Their hair starts to get a little bit straighter, less curly. The spiral isn't there. And they keep mating. They're mating mainly with each other, and not with the melanated people, like the highly melanated people like that. It's for a purpose. And when you keep doing that, and then you come back to source, back to where you originally fell, mate with those people, that's a whole different race now. Because now you got different accents, different ways of life. You adapted to a different climate, but now you're back somewhere where you used to be. But you're different. And especially your offspring is different because they grew up. Say, if they move from the African landmass to the European landmass, and you have 4 generations of children there, and then they come back and then they mix with another race, and then that race goes somewhere else and mixes with people, and mixes with the race that was there when they were there. Say back in the African, you have some African people on the African landmass that mate with some of the people who came back from Europe landmass. They mate, they have generations of children, and then they say go to the Mexican landmass and mate. This is why you get the Mexicans, the Spanish. Well, that's how you get the Spanish. All these different races. This is how it happened. I don't have to go into it any further. This is how it happened. So then we have all these albinos that are no longer albino because they're straight cut off from source at this point. When they're just mating with people on the European continent, where they're at in the Asian continent, you have the ones who went to the Caucasus Mountains. They mated 5 to 10 generations, and when they came out, that 10th generation were the Caucasians. Because they mated with the motherfuckers from Asia. And generations later, they come out of the Caucasus Mountains and start conquering people all over. Rome, you got the Rome Empire. They're settling everywhere. Mating and leaving some behind, and some are going to other land masses and mating with their people, creating all these different races. But we originally started from black. So that means every single race is one. We are all unified. We all come from the same fucking source. Think about that. That shit's wild. That's genetic modification 101 in the ancient times. Now we can do it under a microscope. If you want to have kids with blue eyes, blonde hair, you can modify it. Have a scientist modify it under a microscope. Modify the DNA. You don't have to breed a certain way to get a certain outcome. It's like, for those who are into weed, like I'm into weed, it's like breeding marijuana plants for a certain outcome. So I'll breed an OG Kush plant with a straight 100% sativa to up, because so the next generation, when I get the seed from this one, from that cross, will more than likely have more of a head effect or more of a balanced effect towards the body and the head high. It's the same shit. So I just wanted to, go into the Book of Enoch for those in honor, sort of the Annunaki and genetic modification for those who were slightly confused. So, salud. I'm about to eat dinner. I love y'all. I might come back on later. Who knows? Alchemy of Life. I'm out. Peace.